So you're talking about how you've used this material with success. Go ahead. What are some of the things you've done with it?
You were talking about test closing. When I start talking with someone and I start seeing that the woman's into me, I actually start with gentle touches, the shoulder, gently in the arm, and then when I see she's tuning in like that, zooming in your presence, I start leaning in, start twirling the hair, ears, pulling gently. Haley said it yesterday. So how we should do it, that's the way I do it. And then I kiss. And sometimes it happens, I took some time to discover that. For me, now it's something I understand that if I kiss a girl, it doesn't mean she's ready for sex. So I had that experience. And sometimes at the beginning, I had that experience of kissing and not having sex because something was missing.
I'm going to tell you something. I had this discussion with someone last night, and I wasn't sure whether you're ready to hear it. A lot of times it's better not to have intercourse with someone. I firmly believe when you fuck someone, you get their energy on you. For every 5 women who come into my bed, I only have sex with one of them. I'm not joking, because sharing erotic energy and all that stuff, wonderful stuff. But when you put your penis in someone, there's something going on more than a biological act. So be very careful where you put your penis, where you put your devotion, sometimes where you put your tongue. Go ahead.
What I find most interesting about this is that you really can enjoy women in a different way than I used to. I had to say different things about me that were not true to get the attention.
Oh, you have to lie.
And now I'm genuine with myself. This is what I am. This is what I do. This is what I do for a living, in therapy or whatever. And they're fine with it. I don't have any secrets. I don't need to tell them that I'm not a wise person or an informed person. I'm not ashamed of this material. No.
I am not ashamed of the word of sorry. Hallelujah. Have a seat.
Thank you.
So, what's the difference between a command and a suggestion? Suggestions are more a way of, once you've done commands, to tell them how to interpret the commands. For example, that's happening now. That's really taking place. That's what's happening. So if I say, when you stop and think about what it would be like to finally really let loose and get all those urges that have been going unmet for so long really, really fulfilled. I don't know what it is that can cause a person to realize that's happening right now. Now you notice I also use what I call I often use what I call the false profession of ignorance. I don't know. I'm not sure. I can't tell. I don't know, I'm not sure, I can't tell. Why would that be useful? First of all, it's setting up a sense of, wow, he's not bragging, he's not boasting, he's not trying to say he's a know-it-all. So it creates receptivity. Sense? Make sense? And I don't know, I'm not sure implies that someone else is sure and does know. Who does it imply that it is sure and does know? Her. Does that make sense? Yeah. So command suggestions. Another little small working horse, one of the pieces that we use that makes up speed seduction, is quotes. I think it's so vile what some guys say. Or I heard this joke that really describes the psychology of all men, and you want to hear it? Do you get it? Quotes. Or at this point in the evening, some guys would look at you and say, I can't wait. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is another one. All of these building blocks can fit inside any of the formats that we use. Jokes, quizzes, games, questions, and classic patterns. We're going to get to classic patterns shortly. Do you know what I mean by a classic pattern? The Discovery Channel pattern. Anyone ever hear of that? The blowjob pattern. The blowjob pattern. Incredible connection pattern. These are like longer sort of descriptions about how people experience things. I don't do this anymore. That's something I taught back in 1993, from 93 to 97. You can't buy those courses anymore, but they are included in that. They are included in that special. It's the only place where you can find them. We call it the old school evil secret stash. All right, so are we understanding these things? These are the basic tools. We use pattern interrupts. Pattern interrupts simply means doing the unexpected. That could mean switching the frame around, it could mean anything. A girl says, I have a boyfriend. Now, would you like to know a classic unexpected pattern interrupt that can get much younger women to call you up and want to come over and screw you? Yes. No, you don't. Come on, you're not. Are you sure?
Yes.
All right. Is there a woman who will volunteer to be in this seat? You're not going to want to screw me afterwards, but no. Let's assume there's a woman sitting here who's really younger than me. I'm 54. It would not work for me to say to a young woman who I've been chatting with, you know, you seem like you're a lot of fun. Let's go out sometime. Generally speaking, that would come off as creepity, right? Sometimes I'll start the conversation like saying, can I ask you a question? Do you have a really hot grandma? Because it seems like it runs in the family. Okay, and then I'll just change the subject. Now, what do most young women expect an old pervert like me to do after a period of conversation? What do they expect me to do? Ask them out, ask for their number, ask to see them again, right?
Yeah. Sure.
Come on, please feedback. I'm begging for it. Yes, no, fuck you, I don't know. I'll take fuck you. Okay? So, yes, no, or
Yes.
anything. Please, I need your energy, I need your feedback. What are most young women expecting to hear?
Can we go out sometime?
Okay, right, or let me have your number. Here's what I'll say. I'll set up the expectation. I'll say, you know what? You are a hell of a lot of fun to talk to, and you know, and you're a lot of fun to talk to, and it seems like you would be fun to talk to again. What is she expecting to hear? You know what I'll say? But you're way too young, and you're far too nice for the kind of thing I like. So, thanks a lot. And then as I'm walking away, I turn around and I say, I've got a card here somewhere, by the way. I'll have it ready. So I'll slide over. I'll say, just for laughs. I'll leave the card. Now, only 10 to 20% will call. But the 10 to 20% who call have pre-qualified themselves as being interested in this kind of thing. They're thinking, what do you mean I'm too nice? What do you mean I'm too young? I'll show that fucker what I've got. Do you see? And when they call, they're into it. They've raised their hands and said, what do you mean I'm too nice? So I've had women say, no, I'm not. You know, like right there, I'll go, yeah. What is the thing I'm using? I'm interrupting the pattern of what they're expecting. Yeah. It's a pattern interrupt. Do you understand?
Yeah. Yes.
This works everywhere. Let's say she doesn't return your first phone call. My first phone call is, hey Debbie, it's Ross. I don't know where you'll be when you get this message. Hear that false profession of ignorance? Or what you'll be doing when you do get it. But I do know that maybe you can imagine how much fun it will be to give me a call and talk a little bit more. Here's my number.
Right.
That's the first message I leave. If she doesn't call back, what does she expect most guys to do? Call again, leave a note. Oh, what happened? Why haven't you called me? Blah, blah, blah. Right? I'm not going to do that. I only give them 2 shots. I'll call them. This is the classic phone intruder, the answering machine intruder. I'll call them and say, hey, it's Ross. I thought I'd give it one last shot at getting a chance to talk. You know, I've learned one lesson living in LA my whole life. Beauty is common. But people with a great attitude, a great energy, great outlook are really worth working to get to know. I think that's an understanding that can go both ways. So if you can find your own reasons to call me, here's my number. Blah, 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 blah. Now, that's so loaded with hypnosis and suggestions and embedded. When I say it's Ross, okay, I thought I'd give it a last shot at getting a chance to talk. What am I implying? I'm not calling you again, bitch. Right? I've learned one lesson living in LA my whole life. They're going to, what's that? Curiosity. Beauty is common. According to who is beauty common? In what way is beauty common? Whose beauty? Her beauty? Brooke Shields' beauty? Whose beauty? Beauty is common, but people with a great energy. Which people? Me? Her? Am I complimenting her? Am I saying I have great energy? She has great energy? I'm not saying. People with a great energy and a great outlook are worth working to get to know. Working in what way? Working how? What kind of work? You see how vague it is?
Yeah.
I think that's an understanding that can go both ways. What the fuck does that mean? What the fuck does that mean? Right? So if you can find your own reasons to call me, go inside, imagine why, in that trance, and come out and call me. Here's my number. Do you understand?
Yeah.
That works maybe 1/4 to 1/3 of the time. The other times they're just not interested. I accept it and I move on. Has anyone ever used that answering machine intruder? No? You don't know that pattern? You've never heard that pattern? It's in the it's in the secret training collection, which by itself would go for $1,000. That's part of the deal of every course I have back there. Just wanted to let you know. By the way, you may think he's really pushing hard on that. It's not that I'm pushing hard on that. It's that there's a really big new direction that you can take in terms of having everything I've ever taught and not miss one word at your fingertips.
How long would you leave us to call if you left a message she didn't get back to you?
I try to call right away. Oh, you mean the first time?
After the first phone call, how long would you leave it normally if she didn't reply to you?
7 to 10 days. But I forget it. After that, it's just not worth it. I don't, and one of my rules is I only want to play if it's fun. If I have to bend arms or if I have to come up with reasons, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. How many people are in the world?
7
Billions.
Is it 7 billion? That, all right, do the math. 7 billion divided by 2. What does that equal? 3.5 billion vaginas. Let's eliminate those who are too young, which would be 100,000. I'm doing this on 5 hours sleep. You guys really, give me some credit. Yeah?
Yeah.
So there's just lots of them. And at first it's difficult to have that mentality. I understand. It really is difficult, particularly if you're going through periods of loneliness or a breakup. It can be difficult. That's why I want to teach you guys a genuine meditation and breath practice. It may seem like it's not related to the topic, but it's profoundly related to the topic because it heavily influences how you show up and who you show up. And by the way, let me just tell you, I'm by no means perfect. I break my own rules. I forget to do the right thing. I fuck up. I am by far not what I would call even an excellent seducer simply because I'm lazy. I'd like to try new shit. I'm not comfortable or happy with what I know already works, right? I'm just fucking lazy. I'm a fantastic teacher. You can do better than me. You can do better than me, and I was far worse off than I think than any of you have ever been. And each and every one of you, I would say, without exception, is better looking than I was when I was like 18 years old. Well, you understand the equivalent of what I'm saying? These tools really work. When you can capture and lead a woman's imagination and emotions and then suggest what she's going to do with that, you can go pretty far. And the reality is, you don't even have to step on it that hard with someone who's already pretty sexual. You just don't. I'll speak the truth to you. If I taught what I myself do, just what I myself do, it would be a 2-hour class. Because I don't even do a hell of a lot of this stuff anymore. Because when you show up really truly understanding women, they sense it, and you don't have to do a lot of this. But you have to go through a lot of experience to do it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you haven't said much during this event. Are you enjoying yourself?
Yeah.
You remind me of a young Richard Bandler.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, okay. It was an extreme compliment.
Thank you.
He was one of my original teachers. By the way, does it now seem like I'm more organized in pulling this stuff together today?
Yeah.
Does it? I promised you I would. Someone says no? No? Fuck you. We'll get there.
When you start using this command,
I'm teasing you.
That's fine.
These commands and suggestions,
Yes.
it's a bit scary when we see women actually do what you just said.
It's a bet. No, he just said, is it scary to see women do what you just
It
said?
is scary.
Huh? It is scary?
The other day I told
Why is it scary?
I was on a Skype with a colleague of mine. She was at the end of the office. I said, find your own reasons to come to my desk. And like 30 seconds later, she was right behind me.
Wow. Okay. But he said, find your own reasons to come to my desk. And 30 seconds later, she was right. Well, it's not scary. It's fun. It's only scary if you have a harmful intent. So, have a good intent, right? So, we're doing all this stuff. And now, I gave you language the other day for getting her to come. Well, I'm going to circle back to themes and classic patterns shortly. But the language for the next meeting, how are you going to get, let's say, you get her on the phone, yes? And you're talking, what do you do to get that next meeting? What's some specific language you can use? Anybody?
We need to.
Yes?
We need to connect. We need to meet.
I'll say something like, chitter chat a little bit. I'll say, you know what? I'm not sure exactly where you're at with your schedule or where mine is right now, but why don't we meet so and so Saturday, like 5 p.m. You know, I only live 5 blocks from the beach. Why don't you come by? We'll go for a walk. I don't say let's go out to dinner or let's do anything. I'll say, why don't we? That's a really good phrase. Why don't we, or let's. I never ask. I don't say, would you like to? Because that triggers a no response. I said, why don't we, or let's. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Why don't we, or let's. Okay? You follow?
Yes.
Now, once you get her back to your place, or go to her place, here I promised you, I gave you the 4 ways to dissipate resistance yesterday. I promised you 3 ways to do the, I'm assuming, look, when you're spending time with a woman, you're already making, you're having some physical contact, making out, doing some stuff before you go back to your place, right? Let's assume that's not happening, right? I have 3 ways to do this. The first, I actually used this on my super psychotic ex-girl. God, I don't want to go into it, but this is what I said to her. Later, she told me something else. You know, I couldn't tell. She said, you know, you didn't even need to do that because I was dripping wet over dinner. In this case, she met me at my hotel for dinner. I had no idea. She hit it really, really well, which is one of my rules, guys. It's always on. Sometimes you really cannot tell. You just can't. And later, you know what she said to me? She said, you know, a couple of days ago when we were riding on the train, hanging out, I could feel the heat coming off your body. I was already wet. You notice I wouldn't sit facing you because I didn't want to point my pussy at you. It was too soon. What? I had no idea. So I said, so we were having dinner. I said, look, This works time and again. I said, look, please don't take this personally. Now, why would I use that phrase, please don't take this personally? Do women ever use that phrase on us? When women, have you ever heard a woman say, please don't take this personally? And then deliver a message that's really personal, like, I don't like you, or fuck off, or sorry, I'm not attracted to you, right? When a woman says, please just take this personally, or we have to talk, okay, it's never good. Very seldom does a woman say, listen, we really have to talk. And she comes over to talk to you, she says, I've been hiding the fact that I'm bisexual. I have 3 friends who've been hotter than me, and we would all like to fuck you in every conceivable way, lick every orifice, and do whatever you want. Rarely happens. Or she says, you know, I've been hiding from you the fact that I'm a multi-billionaire, and I have a boat and a yacht and an island and all this other stuff, and I would like to give you $1 million for every inch of cock you've given me. $10.5 million, wow. Do the math. Usually when you hear things like, don't take it personally. So I'm going to use her language. I'll say, look, please don't take this personally. I'm really, really tired, and I have like an hour of meditation practice to do. So if you want to come up, it only has to be for like half an hour, and then I have to boot you out. Now, why am I doing that? I'm allowing her to save face and go, oh, well, do you understand? Some women you don't need to say this to, but a lot of women, it just works. They go, okay, sure, right? Up they come to my house, or in this case, it was the hotel room, and I don't do anything for half an hour. And after half an hour, I say, like I said, nothing personal, let me walk you to the door. I walk them to the door, and as I'm walking them to the door, I just turn them around and start macking on them. And that pretty much leads them to the bed. They're surprised by it. So that's number 1. I've got to make, by the way, when a woman says to me, I want you to know I have to make it an early evening, I have to get up early tomorrow, you know what I hear? I hear, let's get to the fucking really fast. I always misinterpret things in my favor. Why not? Why not misinterpret things in your favor? Okay, so that's number 1. And sometimes I find she'll turn away from me. No problem. I found time and again, she just wants to see if I'm really interested. So I'll go for it again another time, or I'll gently turn her face back to me. This is number 2. Here's number 2. I'll have them sitting next to me on the couch, wherever. I'll just start rubbing the back of their neck. And sometimes I'll hear a moan, and I'll say, if you could name one thing about yourself that's uniquely attractive, that has nothing to do with your looks, what would it be? And before she answers, I'll say, I know one. I'll just pull her into me. That's 2. Number 3 is I'll start rubbing the back of her neck. I'll say, you know what? You seem a little tense. Here, come here. Here, come here. Listen to those words, right? And I'll sit behind her on a chair. I'll say, here, lean against the chair. And I'll just start rubbing the back of her neck. You understand that special touch? And then when I hear them really, really starting to like moan, I'll say, open your eyes. And then they open their eyes, I just pull their hair back, mac on them that way. You get it? Don't mac on a girl when her eyes are closed, visualizing something. It's a shock, like what the fuck? My dirty old uncle just walked into the room. Do we follow?
Yes.
Now, number 3, if that's not enough, I'll say, here, scoot up. And then I will literally sit behind them. They're leaning into me. So I'm now sitting with my back against the chair. Now they're leaning behind me, and I've got their body against my body, right? And then I'm just doing all of this stuff. And their face is right next to my face. I'll say, open your eyes for a minute, I have to ask you something. So are you more of a ear nibbler and I'll nibble on her ear? Or are you more of a neck biter and just gently bite her neck? And at that point, boom, on. All you need is 3 of these. Don't get too complicated. And sometimes I just offer them a massage. I'll just, I'll do this because it's a little perverted thing of mine I like to do. Like, you know what, why don't you get on the table? I have a massage table at my house because my nephew works on me, so it's there. I did that with the girl who I said, I can only take half an hour with you, who said she was dripping wet over dinner. I knew she was ready, but I wanted to play a little bit. I wanted to see what she looked like almost naked, just to get myself excited by it. And by the way, when I took off everything, I said, leave your panties on. They were soaked through. You could calm down. Now, I wish I had it. Now, does this work for better sex? Can you use these techniques to make women more responsive during sex? Oh yeah. Oh yes, you can. Here are the reasons why. First of all, when you're already in her imagination and she's thinking about fucking you, she's worked herself into a frenzy. But there's a technique, I wish I had charged my iPhone. We're gonna charge it so you can hear the sound of my last girlfriend going crazy on this stuff. I use one technique, in addition to really, really, really being good with my tongue. Should we get into this about what makes for good oral sex? No?
Yes.
Some people don't want to hear it, but you can skip it. Okay? Here's what I've found. First of all, vary what part of your tongue you use. Like, first of all, I'm orally fixated. I have 40 minutes of my ex 22-year-old girlfriend. I said, can we record this? She said, sure, but just the sound. I'm going down on her for 40 minutes. And she's like, going bananas, because I just like to do that. One thing you do is use different parts of your tongue. Like one of the things I'll do is put the entire flat of my tongue against her entire vulva and let her feel the warmth of it. You understand? So you vary that. I do not lick the clitoris directly because it's really sensitive. But what I'll do is suck it into my mouth. So I'll vary back and forth. I'll suck it into my mouth. I'll lick the outer lips. I will very seldom put my tongue into a vagina. Very, very seldom. Because I've had some problems with that. I had a girlfriend who gave me a very bad... I went to my doctor. He's a Punjabi. Because I had a terrible, the worst throat infection of my life. And the painkillers were working. He looked in my throat. I swear he said, he's almost 70 years old. I've been seeing him since 1990. He says, oh, I see you have been licking pussy again. I said, how did you know that? He says, I can see the little things. This is from Candida. This is from a dirty pussy. And I'm like, so I went back to my girlfriend. I said, the doctor said this. She said, it's not me. Well, you're the only one. So I don't put my tongue in a vagina, but what I will do also is vary what I use, whether it's my lips or the tip of my tongue or the flat of the tongue. Give variation, and when in doubt, ask what they like. When in doubt, ask what they like. Ask. Don't have an ego about it. But too many guys go right for the bingo button, and it's very, very, very sensitive. I wouldn't do that kind of thing. But the other technique I'm going to give you that works like crazy. What is this? That's true. What else is it? The world's best sex toy. The world's best sex toy. If you get a woman to lay flat on her belly, slide in your thumb, and then all you have to do is press down on that G-spot. Press down and maybe put a little pressure on it, and just like you're pushing down and pulling. I don't mean in and out. Put some pressure on it and vary that pressure and move it around. They go bananas. I just discovered this because I got lazy at like doing this and my arm hurt. My arm hurt. And I thought, Wait a minute. The thumb, everybody look at their thumb for a minute. Your thumb can make a lot different motions. It has various different motions it can make beyond your other fingers, and it's got a lot more surface area. And more important, if you can't really, from this position, press down too much with your other finger. The thumb has a lot of leverage, and you don't need to do much work. Bananas time. And it's really easy, and you don't have to worry. Some of you are worried about your performance because you're not that experienced. Stop viewing it as a performance. It's an exchange of energy. It really is. But second, if you don't think you're that good with your dick, don't worry about it. Use this, and you'll do better. And the other thing is, if you want to control, I'm not kidding, if you want to control, I shouldn't be telling you this. Do you want to hear it or not? Some of you don't. Some of you don't. Huh? Use your feet. I don't mean, particularly, I learned this trick, it really works. If she's on top, if you can, rub this part of your foot with the heel of the other one, and use your feet. Press your feet together, and it activates acupressure points, and you will be able to hold out a lot longer if you want to. Okay, so that's my little thing on sexual aggression. However, there's a step you're missing, which is you have to talk about disease and you have to talk about protection, right? I get tested every 3 months, even if I'm not active, because you never know how long it takes. Get over the fear of having your blood drawn. But you have to have a conversation about that. You have to be direct, and if she's not willing to have the conversation, not worth it. You following?
Yes.
Okay, let's take a 10-minute break.